families is the release of the 5 abducted young men here in the country, gentlemen who were abducted into late December, and 5 of them were released yesterday, most of them almost 2 weeks later after they were abducted. It is worth noting that one gentleman by the name Steve Mbesi was abducted on the 17th of December 2024 in Mlolongo area. Machakos County is yet to be released, his whereabouts remaining widely unknown, even as his family continue to call for his release. As the families of the 5 other gentlemen, are happy lot following the release of their loved ones yesterday. Of course, they were found in different locations. Just to be specific, Ronnie Kiplagat was abducted here in the capital, was found in Machakos. Bernard Kavoli was abducted in Gong town, was found in Kitale. Kibet Gideon, better known as Kibet Bull on X, was abducted in Kikuyu, was found in Luanda. Peter Mutech was found here in the Central Business District, while Billy Mwangi walked his way home in Majengo, Embu County. Now, just to help me have a look at what is making headlines in the local dailies this particular morning is Wakili. A very good morning to you, Wakili Stephen Bugo.
Very good morning and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you.
Yes, I want to salute everyone out there and also to thank God. I think one of the persons who have been abducted is Peter Muteti, come from our constituency in Dagoretti South. He's our home buddy, and in terms of where he resides. And it was a joy for even our young people when we heard that he has been released, and we still pray that the rest of the children who are disappearing, who have been disappeared or forced to disappear, to be released from by whoever is holding them. I think the question is, who is holding them?
Of course, that's the big question. But we'll come to that even in a big conversation this particular morning. But if we look at the People Daily, the front page says how Ruto State mutes his critics. They've gone ahead to say, and you can see that on your screen, they've gone ahead to say they have reunited with their respective families. We wish to assure the public that our officers will reach out to them and their families. That is according to police spokesperson Dr. Esila Onyango. The 5 who were released, like I said, Peter Muteti, Bernard Kavoli, Ronnie Kiplagat, brother to Gideon Kibet, alias Kibet Bull, and of course Billy Mwangi, Steve Mbesi, the 6th gentleman on the front page of that particular newspaper, is still missing. We'll talk about that in a conversation, Daktari, Wakili rather. But there's a story on the middle left of that particular newspaper, and they say government eats humble pie on grade 9 preparations. This is a very, very concerning story for parents and students across the country, because grade 9 students are beginning their studies this particular week. But as of yesterday, 2,500 classrooms were yet to be constructed, and the Ministry of Education says they will be constructed in the next 1 month. Now, the big question is, where's the government been in the past 2 months when students were on holiday?
I think I was also equally shocked when I heard the news, because my biggest concern now and my biggest thought were what is even happening in high school. Right now in high school, Form 1 classes are empty. They don't have anyone occupying them because they're not admitting Form 1s. Yet the government is stressed and wondering how our students are going to report to class, because we want to have an avenue where we're going to spend money to create new classrooms for accommodate grade 9 students. Yet we have some class which can be occupied in high schools. I think we have a government which is not prepared to protect its youth, because when you see a government not prioritizing the students or the school-going children, then clearly means they have no interest of the future. And that's why they don't care in compromising the education. That's why to them, we will go for a 2 months holiday and nobody is bothered, because to even come up with or to think around how we can mitigate the situation if you don't have the money. We understand, we know very well they don't have the money because they are not able to collect the money for the obvious reasons, which I think we have been discussing for the last 6 months or so. But I think our biggest problem we have is lack of planning, lack of prioritizing education of our children, and lack of proper structures being put in place to ensure that we have a smooth transition, because we cannot keep on claiming that our students, or we want to ensure that basic education, all the children access basic education. We cannot keep on reminding ourselves that our constitution entrenched the right to education, especially the basic education, that is both primary and secondary education. And yet our government does not prioritize this particular issue in terms of funding, in terms of release of money. And you will go to a board in a school, both a primary, high school, capitation, release of capitation it takes so long. In terms of the parents have to cough some money, and that's why you find it become very difficult to sustain students even in school. So even the situation we are in right now, where now we are expecting to see a huge chunk of kids not being able to report, or even reporting and crowding in some other classes. These are just people who are not serious. We have a bunch of people who we gave to work who don't understand what they're supposed to be doing, because why now all the Form 1 classes across the country will not have students, and yet we are now trying to mobilize money to build up some other classes to accommodate some kids in primary school whom we thought in the first place are going to be in secondary school, is one of the biggest wonders that I think we are facing as a country.
And again, of course, there will be a disparity, because the schools that are affected are public schools. Those in the private sector are, well up and running for the first term. And again, like you said, there will be the issue of congestion in classrooms. And there's always been the issue of, shortage of teachers, the student-to-teacher ratio. But again, even apart from the issue of, classes being ready, we've seen politicians, we've seen the head of state himself saying, late last year, that by January, everything will be set. All classrooms for grade 9 learners will be ready. But a few months later, that is not the case. Now, one other thing that parents are also grappling with is, the high cost of living, the cost of textbooks, uniforms, travel. Like, for example, they say the cost of one 200-page exercise book at the moment is around 210 shillings. Parents are expected to buy at least 12 such books for their children. At a time when the economy is, struggling a bit, we've had, sentiments from the head of state saying, and, the cost of living has come down due to the drop, in inflation rate. But, that is not being felt. What would be the rallying call to the president? Because the education sector is a very, very crucial sector in the country, and for any other country out there.
And I think this Kenya Kwanza regime, and which I think we also witnessed the same challenges during Uhuru's time, when they promised our children that they're going to have, I think one of the pilot projects was to have laptops, and that faded away. We never know what happened. Mysteriously, the money disappeared and nothing ever happened. Nobody ever asked questions what happened to the laptops and the digitalization of our children in school. But the fact that it is the children in the public sector or in the public schools that are suffering the most, those are the majority, because those who are able to afford private education are very few in this country. It's less than 10 to 15%. Majority are in the public schools, and they are the most hit, and that's why it's it is, I want to say, it's a choreographed manner of ensuring we impoverished people by not empowering the generations that are going to come. Because once we ensure that we frustrate the children from accessing education, we frustrate the parents from having, being able to afford the education, then automatically the children will drop out of school. That's why I think I was seeing a clip the other day. There's an upsurge of children in Nairobi streets who are just smoking, using those jet fuels across the CBD. You ask them questions, they ask you for money, you ask them where they come from. You'll hear they have homes, they have their residence, but they will tell you the problems they are facing at home. You even wonder how to solve their problems. So it is a very serious problem when a country does not prioritize its education system. It's a very big problem when the country is not able to fund education in terms of even affording books, affording materials, learning materials. You go to a school, kids, right now I can tell you the number of messages I have received since Friday of financial requests. Someone just needs books, others need fare to go to school, and they are genuine cases, genuine concerns. And you wonder as a Kenyans, if these are the few people who you are able to reach to, how many other Kenyans are suffering to afford to buy that exercise? So it's very our education, how to ensure that affordability in terms of even access to books. These books, even if the government was not providing them for free, the question will have been, what are the incentives the government given to the manufacturers of these particular materials so that they can become affordable to Kenyans, so that the children can access them and the parents can access them? What has the government put in place in terms of policies and funding? So these are some of the biggest unfortunate things that I don't think the Kenya Kwanza regime has any plans whatsoever. And once you ask them about education, they will tell you, we are building classes. And you keep on asking them, a classroom is just some few blocks of stones you can put up. But when you address the children, the issues of the children, the kind of education they're accessing, are they able to access the learning materials? If it's a secondary school, do they have access to laboratory materials to be able to do those experiments? You see some schools in some very remote areas, they are even studying in some place look like a cow dung, a cow shed. So there is a lot of problems in terms of lack of prioritizing the education sector, and I think it's very unfortunate when a generation, and I keep on saying we have a very bad entitled generation, which enjoyed free education from primary, secondary, they went to university, they were given boom, they were given money, bursaries all over to enjoy education, but they have deliberately, after taking leadership in government, ensure that they sabotage the education system so that the next generation does not benefit as they are.
Okay, fair enough. There's one other concern by parents, because there's a parent who says he has 3 students, one in secondary school and 2 in junior secondary, and is now obligated to buy 9 rims of, rim paper, nine rim papers, because that is according to the demand by the institutions. Now, the big question is, the cost of one rim paper is around 700 to 900. That will cost that parent, a whopping amount of money. Now, the question is, these schools that need these rim papers, for example, some of these requirements by institutions have been termed as a rip-off, a plan to rip-off from parents by school heads, because some of these institutions tell you to buy these rim papers, but they tell you don't buy them out there. We sell them in school. I mean, should the government also move with speed to ensure that they regulate and protect parents from such cases?
I think I can even use that to give you an example. It's the same way you look at a hospital. Someone tells you that they are, for you to be treated, come with your bed, walk in with your materials to take care, all those medications, that we can treat you. That is what now the education system has turned into, that we are sending children home to buy rim papers, which are used now for printing exam materials and running the office affairs in the school. So the biggest wonder is, why would be the business of the parents to be buying these materials? Yet we have a government which is supposed to be sending capitation, which is enough to meet the needs of the children. Because those children have allocations from the ministry, but the money is never released on time. That's why the schools are forced now to demand the parents to fund these particular printing materials and to provide the money to keep the school going. They provide the lunch. So technically, the people are running the school because the government has failed to do so.
Okay, fair enough. I mean, that is one very concerning issue, even as the schools reopen. You also talked about the release of national examinations. Last year, when the exams were released early, there were concerns about how genuine were the results, because there were cases of hitches here and there in terms of the marks that students were issued, with questions regarding in regards to how the marking was conducted and how their word of marks were also conducted. Now, from your point of view, the delay in the release of the national examinations, is it concerning from where you sit to begin with?
Definitely it is, because I remember very well when we were pushing for this result, I think during Matiang's time, that this result need to be released within a week or two. The main reason why that issue came up was the fact that there was clear information that 1-2 months delay led to a lot of doctoring of results. So when you see that we are going back to the same problems which you are running away from, then someone clearly tells you that we are facing the same challenges, and parents and students have serious concerns, so they will have serious reasons to be concerned about the results that they were given. Because why would the same results which some years ago were being marked and released within a week or two? Before we even go for Christmas, the children had their results. Right now, you will hear there is some few delays, a week extra, 2 weeks extra. The biggest question is, what was the cause of that, and can we account of what was happening, and we are able to account of what was being, or what kind of information, or what kind of doctoring was taking place? Because there is no justifiable reason. Is it the number of markers that were reduced? Okay. Is it the speed work that reduced? Because there have to be a justifiable reason why someone last year was able to mark the paper within 2 weeks, but now they are not able to do so. Okay,
fair enough. Even as you talk matters education, I was hoping that one Honorable Wilson Sosien would be here, because he's a key stakeholder in the education sector. He has been there for a while. I would have helped us to, understand the marking and release of national examination results. Now, also joining us this particular morning is a lawyer and Inject party leader, that is Morara Kibasa. Very good morning to you, sir.
Very good morning.
Happy to have you this morning.
Happy to see you.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year 2025.
Now, thank you very much for making time to be with us. We were talking with Wakili in regards to the mess that we are witnessing in the education sector.
Yes.
Yesterday, we did learn that at least 2,500 classrooms for grade 9 learners were yet to be constructed, despite the government, having a lot of time to do that, ample time to be, to say the least, because schools were closed for almost 2 months, and the Ministry of Education says those classes will be constructed in 1 month. Now, there are concerns regarding congestion and teacher to student ratio. From where you sit, where's the government, and that is through the Ministry of Education, going wrong in regards to what is happening and the mess being witnessed in the education sector in the country?
I believe the education sector in Kenya is grossly underfunded. That I believe so, that we have not invested enough in the education sector, from infrastructure to training to equipping learners and teachers to have the requisite skills and equipment to actually make competence-based curriculum a success. I believe that there was a rush to implement the CBC without considering the infrastructural needs of actually making that curriculum work for us. Even apart from that particular issue that you've raised, you remember that earlier this year we had the challenge of the, earlier last year, we had the challenge of teachers for junior secondary not being hired on permanent basis, and permanent and pensionable basis, and this led to a very low morale in teachers that were supposed to teach these learners. You also heard about teachers complaining of the training of this curriculum, how it was undertaken. Most of the teachers lacked the skills to actually train learners in this particular curriculum. You would find teachers teaching even 3 or 4 subjects. So you find a biology teacher is also teaching agriculture. So our education sector in Kenya is grossly underfunded, but at the same time, you find that we are spending on things that are not important. Remember, this is the same government that said that it has 500 million shillings for Grammy Awards, to want to bring Grammy Awards to Kenya, 500 million shillings, when these are the kind of challenges that are in the education sector. Remember, this is the same government that can afford to have an office of the spouse of the president, or office of the spouse of the deputy president, which actually receives a high amount of money, more than the things that are important, which we are talking about this morning, which is education of our children. When you go to developed countries, public education is actually the best education that you can get in a country. But in this country called Kenya, public education has been made a mockery, and there is intention to actually make it fail so that private acquired institutions can make profit. I'll give you a good example of what is happening in Eldoret. The Moi University has been grossly mismanaged and is now collapsing, but just near Moi University, a few kilometers away, the president himself is building a very huge complex, which comes from kindergarten all the way to university. And this is a private institution where he expects to make profit. The same is happening in the healthcare sector. Moi Referral Hospital is collapsing, but just opposite Moi Referral Hospital, our president has built Life Care Hospital, which is making a lot of profit. So the failures that we are seeing in public institutions, if you were to ask me, They are intentional. They are intentional because people want those systems to fail so that private institutions, which they've built with money stolen from corruption, can make profit.
Now, fair enough. Coming back to you, Wakili, from matters education to just a bit on the matter of the acting IEBC manager in Kilifi, that is Aisha Akinyi Abubakar. Now, some say the police should be blamed for the rising insecurity cases in the coastal city of Mombasa and the vast coast region. But from where you sit, is this really a case of just a normal attack? Because it seems all the attackers were all out to end the life of Aisha Abubakar, because some of the things they also took are materials belonging to IEBC.
I think one of the first things I wonder is why in the first place we have not put in place safe security measures to our officials in the IEBC, because the people the IEBC supervises to be voted in, and the IEBC, which has the mandate to declare results and declare winners, the candidates who are declared winners receive security. They are protected. They have bodyguards. They move around with chase cars. But the people who declare results, the referees, have been left to the dogs. And I think the police may keep on trying to run away from the responsibility, but we have to keep on reminding them. But for you to be held liable, it is either because you did or did not, because you have a responsibility. And the responsibility is to provide security in the country, to be able to investigate matters, to provide, to be able to arrest persons who are causing mayhem, either in the coastal region or any other part of the country. But what have they done? They have absconded. They do the same way we have a challenge with people who are being absconded, and they're telling us they don't know. So when you see the police department telling you they don't know who is doing whatever is happening, or they're not able to figure out, then the biggest question boils to the fundamental question should be, then why do we have the police department? Because they're supposed to be providing security. That's why we fund them. That's why even right now, as we came, we bought fuel, we paid for all the taxes we are paying, for everything we are doing, that some of the money goes to that department for them to provide security towards Kenyans. And that's a constitutional right for them to be able to provide security. So when they fail to do so, or they cause it to happen by also allowing the thugs to thrive because they have the intelligence, which a department which has been receiving millions of unaccounted millions of shillings, then it is fundamental to us, do we have the right people managing the police department? Are they the same people who have allowed our young people to be abducted? The same people who have allowed many young people to be thrown in Nivayala and other places? We have been collecting dead bodies across the country. The same problem we are seeing now, they are after the referee. So whom are they coming next to? So the biggest worry should be, the biggest concern should be, do we have the right people in the police department, heading the police department? And my answer is no. Is no, because these people have failed both professionally to do their jobs in terms of protecting Kenyans, and therefore they can be held accountable for omission or commission of the offenses that are going on in the country.
Now, thank you very much, Wakili. Before we go further, let me just introduce Honorable Wilson Sosena. Very good morning to you, sir. Thank you very much for making time to be with us.
Yeah, good morning, Ketan, and Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year. It's been
and to our viewers.
It's been a minute.
Yeah.
Now, I was just telling my panelists a few minutes ago that I wish you'd be here, because you were talking about, earlier on you were talking about the mess in the education sector, and you are a key stakeholder in that sector. You've been there for a very long time. The sector in itself is witnessing sort of a crisis. There are lack of classrooms. There are concerns about the release of the national examinations by the Ministry of Education in itself. There's the shortage of teachers in the sector. Now, from where you sit, specifically on the issue of classrooms, because that is one key bone of contention. 2,500 classrooms are yet to be constructed for grade 9 learners.
I think time and again I've sat with you here and we've discussed education, and any moment, any time we talk of crisis, then the big question that comes to the table is, how do we ensure that we have accountability structures within our education system so that we are sure we are not guessworking? And for sure, Ketan, the international format and standard of supervising education is to ensure that we have a quality assurance or inspectorate section in place, so that it is able to inspect schools, it's able to generate report, it's able to guide the ministry, and the ministry is able to plan well and execute with precision. And if I say precision, is with military precision. But I think the problem that we've had in Kenya is that we don't have that department working, and it makes no sense, according to me, even to disperse money to schools if you don't have accountability structures in place, if you don't have the audit systems in place. The court ordered the Minister for Education, the current minister, to establish education and standards and quality assurance within a given time frame as provided for in the Basic Education Act, section 64 to 70. And I remember the Basic Education Act, we negotiated it and drafted it with Honorable Mutula, the Minister for Education. And there was every reason to have a more autonomous and more robust quality assurance section. Okay. And if that was done, all these gaps will be pointed and they will be addressed in real time. So we cannot talk about, you cannot wait, enjoy Christmas, get to January, then begin waking up to challenges left, right, and center in the sector. We must recalibrate education to the orderly fashion that there are little or few complaints at all.
Fair enough. I appreciate your sentiments on that. But the big question is, who should be held responsible? What has the government been doing the past 2 months regarding the construction of these classrooms? Because we've had the president time and again saying by January, all the classrooms for grade 9 learners will be ready. But I just want you to hold on to that thought, because I want us to take a brief breather and then we'll be back to talk about that. And, what to expect this year, the current political happenings here in the country, the state of the rise in, cases of abductions here in the country, the government denying involvement. Then if the government says they're not involved, who is involved? And what is the government doing to ensure that these perpetrators are brought to book? That will be after this short break. Don't go away.
Yeah, Mr. DJ
Lucky. When it comes to playing the best music videos, we've got you covered. K24 TV Mix Master. When it comes to a lineup of all the fresh DJs, we've got that too. Yeah! Check this out. Caribbean.
Controversy starts from the teacher reader.